So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session on creativity, innovation, and inventive problem solving. So who can tell me what were we doing in the last class? What did we discuss in the last class?
The ideation methods like trigger and 635.
Okay.
We also discussed about creative blockers and enhancers.
Okay. So who can tell me about okay, so Manav is saying we started with the baking soda thing. Yes, we started with the baking soda thing. And then we talked about things that enhance our creativity. So what enhances our creativity? Quickly. Hello. This is a course on creativity. So what enhances our creativity? Okay,
Sir, the
knowledge.
previous knowledge we have, and sir, the type
Flexibility.
I'm sorry?
Flexibility.
Flexibility. Okay.
Our experiences.
Our experiences and valuing other people's experiences.
So moving toward uniqueness, basically observing things and trying to establish something unique.
Thinking about uniqueness as to what is new. Great. What was stopping us from coming up with new ideas?
Cultural blocks. Knowledge again.
Knowledge.
That
We discussed that knowledge is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean by cultural blocks?
Oh, like our tradition and all.
Thinking.
Social norms.
Social norms. Or something like, this is the way it is done here.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
never do it like this over here. You've heard such statements? You
Yes,
yourself
yes,
have
sir.
heard
Yes, sir.
Yes,
this to
definitely.
you at times.
Hmm.
So these are cultural blocks. कि यहाँ तो ऐसे ही होता है. Okay. What else?
So
Emotional also.
also emotional blocks that we put upon ourselves that okay, someone might not give this. This is not that valuable, or our thoughts are not that great, so it's not worth even saying out loud.
Something like at times lack of confidence, at times fear of ridicule.
Yes.
What will others think? Has it happened?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. So what else?
Expressive blocks
Perception.
are languages and
Perception.
Not able to express our own opinions out loud properly.
Yeah. Excessive blocks. Two kinds of excessive blocks abhi aapne bataye. One was not able to express ourselves. The other was the language that we have used is so restrictive that you're not able to think out of the box. So if we go to a slightly generic language, we can start to think out of the box. Okay. Then we also looked at other expressive blocks in terms of not being able to visualize the problem. So possibly adding a graph or adding a diagram or something like that. So those are also expressive blocks. Okay. What else?
Perception, like we assume things which are not there.
Assumptions. Great. So as we move forward, and so incidentally, we now have 3 classes almost back to back. We have a class today, we have a class on Monday, and then we have a class on Tuesday. So in these 3 days, we will try to handle many of these blocks over here. We will start to use some tools and start to build what we call as function diagrams, function models, which will kind of take care of the language, expressive blocks in terms of us using very restrictive language. So we'll go to using a language of functions, where we will talk about generic functions. We'll use generic terms to describe operations. And that will help us kind of come out of this block. Function models are also a way to represent whatever problem statement you have in a graphical or a flow chart kind of a way. So that will also take care of the visual or graphical kind of expressive blocks. And we will actually formulate problem statements in a way that it helps us use TRIZ tools like inventive principles much more easily. Okay, so this is this thing that we did about creativity blocks and creativity enhancers. This is very, very important because this comes in handy in the next few classes when we start to work towards our projects. So hopefully towards the end of today's class, I will start to give you a glimpse of what kind of projects we are looking at. And you can also propose projects so that on Monday, when we come together, we can do some activity around that. Okay. Any questions? Any comments on the trigger activity or 635 activity we did last time?
So just a little more time while we are doing those, since last time, in just understanding what was happening, it took a lot of time. We had to
Yeah.
do it afterwards a little bit. So that's
I know. See, that was the reason why we wanted to keep this class as a 3-hour session. But then
Yeah.
3-hour sessions become very long, and I understand that. So what happens is, since this is an interactive class, what happens is that during the interaction, we may take a little extra time, and then there's lesser time left for the ideation activity. I don't want to kill this interaction because it is this interaction on which we will thrive later. See, the first few classes, I want you guys to interact not just with me, but also amongst each other. And when you build that kind of a happy, healthy relationship, then when you sit in a brainstorming session and share ideas, it will be easier for all of us. So that is why I didn't want to kill the interactions, though that meant that, okay, for the ideation activity, we had slightly little time. I also noticed that a few of you had said that there should be a demo activity which should be done before we are sent to the breakout rooms or things like that. Now, I'm not doing that on purpose. If you realized, I did not even explain the trigger method and 65 method to the entire class. I said, okay, go into breakout rooms and only the leaders will come out and I will explain only to the leaders. Why do you think this is important? Or is it important at all? Do you think there is a reason behind it? Anyone?
I think it's to generate trust within the team.
दोबारा से बोलो अनीशा.
I
it's a
think
good
it's, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm saying it's a good team building exercise since we are talking for the first time in that small groups. Then because first of all we go suddenly and we don't know anyone. We have to decide leader. We have to decide scribes, and then that leader, you are dependent completely on what the leader will tell you and what they have understand. So like a good team building exercise in like the first 5 minutes only. So for next 5 minutes, you are able to generate ideas with the group. I think so.
Okay, that is one aspect. But anything else?
Just adding on to Lavanya's point, I feel that the whole point about sending one person outside and the other team was inside, so we were just cut off from the communication. So it also sort of forces us to trust one person's word. So it also forces us to trust our team leaders. So that also essentially helps in the whole team building activity.
Okay, great. So these two aspects are fine. Both are linked to team building and trusting. There is one more fundamental aspect. See, let us say you will join some company 1 or 2 years down the line. Some of you, those who are in 4th year, will possibly join some place within 6 months now. Do you think other people in your company would know the brainstorming methods that we're talking about over here? They have not done this course. They may not be aware. So who is the team leader there? You have to go and explain what the activity is to them. No? I cannot come there and explain how to do brainstorming. You are the one who has to explain the method to them. I want to give you that experience. That when you go back to your teams, whether it's your current research group or whether it is a job that you will join later, whatever it is, you are the ones who are going to lead these brainstorming sessions, having done this course. So you should know how to be a leader. That is also a very important experience that I want to give all of you. Therefore, it is also my request that whoever is the leader in whatever room, for your growth, for your development, do talk to your team members there and seek feedback. Was I clear enough in my communication? Could I have been clearer? How did the activity go? How could I have been better in my communication, or how could I have led this activity better? Just seek inputs from your team. You can do that after leaving, in fact, you can do that before the breakout room ends, or preferably, I would say, after the class ends, and you just reach out to those 4 or 5 people who are there in the breakout room with you and ask them. That is how you will grow. That is how you will improve your communication skills as a leader also. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And this is the primary reason why I'm not explaining the activity to everyone. It is one person who comes out, we explain to that person, and then this person goes back and explains. And therefore I insisted that it should not be the same person becoming a leader every time. So if you've been a leader in one session, ask someone else to be a leader in the next session. Okay, so that each one of you gets that experience and that feedback also. We have lots of such opportunities that will come, but each one of us should utilize that opportunity. Okay. Why is the role of scribe important? Anyone?
So because that person alone is responsible for all the ideas that are being generated in that group to come out neatly and clearly to the person who would be checking it. So like it's and that person is responsible for actually paying attention throughout the session completely as well.
So all of you have to do that. Huh? Why do I want you to get you the scribe experience? Abhilash, you want to add something?
Sir, I had a doubt regarding the leader's position. Sir, I just wanted to know that in these sessions, whether we require a good leader or a good manager, since there is clearly a difference between both of them. And since I saw that the time was limited, and one who managed time very well could easily end up producing a better result.
So whether you call it a manager or a leader doesn't matter to me in this 5-10 minutes breakout room activity yet, Abhilash. There is a clear distinction between what is a good leader and what is a good manager. There is no doubt about that. But it cannot be said that a good leader is not a good manager. A good leader has to be a good manager also.
Right, so
when I'm helping you develop your time management skills, I'm also helping you develop leadership. When I'm helping you develop your communication skills, okay, you're becoming a better manager, but you're also becoming a better leader. By using the term leader, I do not want you to stop at the term manager. Manager is a very small subset of being a good leader.
correct, sir.
So therefore, we call it leader. Okay. Yeah. So the role of scribe. Why is the role of scribe important?
So scribe is important because sometimes when person calls out his idea, he might get defensive about it. And for a scribe, he has to keep his mind open and take down every idea that is pushed in the meeting, regardless of any bias who has put on.
Thank you, Shakti. This is the exact answer actually. When you play the role of a scribe, you have to suspend all judgment. See, when you're not playing the role of scribe, you may still say, oh, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea. Oh, I don't like this, oh, I like that. But can a scribe do that? No. Scribe has to suspend all judgment and write down every idea that is being spoken. Am I right?
Yes.
That is the role of the scribe. So that is why I want you guys to also play the role of scribe at least once or twice in various breakout rooms, so that you also get the practice to suspend all judgment. It is not easy to suspend judgment, even for 5 minutes. So it is important that you play that role also. Okay. So whenever you submit your upload your summary of the breakout room, you should always mention who the leader was and who the scribe is. In fact, I think we agreed that the scribe will upload and he would list down the leader names. So we would have the list of, we would know that you have played the role of scribe sufficiently and you have played the role of leader also at least a few times. Okay. Anything else?
So in the last activity, there was no like particular special role of scribe because we were ourselves writing all the points.
Yes.
So
In the
scribe
last
was just
activity,
for
635 and trigger, scribe had just to consolidate everything. But as we move forward, scribe will have a bigger role.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, in some of the breakout rooms, we will not have a scribe because we will not be doing ideation. When we will be working on some activities like cause effect chain analysis or designing the function model, at that point of time, you will not be needing a scribe. Each one of you, we will explain the activity commonly in the classroom, and you will just go into breakout rooms so that you do those activities for your products or your things as a group. That's it. But in many activities, you will still need to have leaders and scribes. So each one of you should play these rules.
So can we call this like someone who's preparing the minutes of the meeting? So in some way, can we call it like it's an agile activity? Like people
No,
getting
don't
together?
confuse it. It's not an agile activity. No. Scribe is someone who suspends all judgment. Agile में ऐसा नहीं होता, है ना?
Yeah.
So
Like
we are,
in agile, we will get together and they just discuss what they have done and what further.
yeah,
they
minutes
need
of the meeting is a summary of what happened.
to-
When you write the minutes of a meeting, you do not write down every word that was spoken, every idea that was brought forward. You may just summarize everything into one line.
Okay.
Scribe doesn't do that.
Okay.
Scribe lists down each and every idea that has been proposed. And you will see when we will talk about, when we will do activities like role storming and superheroes, there will be so many ideas. Ideas will be coming left, right, center, and you have to write down everything. You have to be very, very quick.
Okay, so he'll be like type like someone who is doing the typing work and everything, noting
Yeah.
down everything.
You may want to note down on a notebook or type it or do whatever. Make a mind map right away. That's your choice.
Like a shorthand expert type.
Yeah. Basically, suspend all judgment and record everything that is discussed because everything has a potential for a new product, for a new solution.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So yesterday I had also posted a link for 2 kinds of creativity assessments. Were you able to do that? Those of you who
Yes,
were
sir.
able to do that, put a +1 in the chat window. Those who are not able to do that, put a -2 in the chat window. Okay, so there are quite a few who are not able to do that also. Great. So what we will do is, now we will do another activity, another assessment on creativity. Okay, we will then come back to the what do you say? We will come back to the assessment that you did in your as an assignment also. But for now, we will quickly do another activity also. Okay, just give me a minute. So there is, you can go to this link. I'm posting this link in the chat window also. And you can quickly do this activity. Okay, so what do you think this means? The score? Any idea? Any clue?
So within different ranges of the score, there could be a different type of creative personality, similar to the quiz that we had taken yesterday, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like more the number, more the person is kind of a risk taker, or um, like, searching for new ideas which are out of the box, something like that.
Okay. So you're talking about elephants and frogs over here. Okay. So if you have a score which is less than, say, 20, you're more like an adapter. You produce fewer ideas, but expect many of them to succeed. So you play by the rules. You do not bring about huge big changes. You adapt little by little. And if you score more than 20, let us say you are like an innovator. And there's nothing wrong in either of the two things. You expect many, you generate many ideas, but you yourself do not expect many to succeed. You just expect a few of them to succeed. So finally, an adapter and a frog may have only 2 or 3 ideas which are good enough, both of them. But the total cache of ideas that an adapter would come up with may be 5, whereas an innovator may come up with 10 ideas. So with frog, you would be like hopping from one idea to another, to third, to fourth, to fifth, and so on. Of these, just a few will work. Elephant strategy, okay, this is the problem I am facing. Oh, I can go a little this way. There must be a solution somewhere here. This is the lowest cost solution that I'm talking about. Or let me go a little that way, and there could be a solution over there. And that is another solution that I'm talking about. Slow, steady, but ideas which will be good solutions, which will be solutions there. Innovator, lots of ideas, hopping from one thing to another, in fact, distracting the whole group also. And knowing fully well that, oh, a few ideas are trash, not even bothered about them. But unless I generate trash, how will I come up with good ideas? So they generate lots of ideas.
Sir, are these scores like trustworthy? How do you know? Like, do they actually like represent the real picture?
Yeah,
Because
it
I think
represents
this
the picture that
creativity
you
is
gave.
situational, no? Because creativity is situational. No? Like one person might be very much adaptive in his say professional life, but say when it comes to one of his hobbies, then he's a very big great innovator.
Yeah. See, that is why you may want to fill this assessment 5 times for 5 different kind of settings that you want to assess yourself in.
Okay, so basically field dependent.
Any
What the
assessment,
questions were?
even the ones that were sent to you yesterday, you can choose to respond in different manners and you will get different results. They are not intelligent assessments. They are simply some scales that have been built based on experience and empirical evidence.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt. Sir, how is this cutoff decided that above 20 it is innovator and below 28?
So easy. And there were 8 questions. And minimum score was 1, maximum was 4. So what is the minimum score that you could get? 8. Maximum you could get 32. And right in the center we said 20.
Okay.
Nothing else. No rocket science there. What this also means is that if you were at around 20, in a very high probability, in some settings you will be like an adapter. And in many settings you will be like an innovator. But if you are at say 29, then to be an adapter is very difficult for you. You will feel constrained and constricted when someone expects you to be an adapter. And if you are at say 9 or 10, you will feel very uncomfortable probably working with a person who's just hopping from one idea to another. You will say, yes, slow down, please. Let us look at any idea in detail first. Has it happened with you? Those who are on the extremes?
Yes.
Yeah. So why, see, all these assessments, they're not to label you anything. Please don't consider these as labels. Oh, I'm an elephant, I'm a frog. No. Take them as fun activities only for now. But more important than fun component over here is to bring to your awareness that there are different kinds of people. And there is no right and no wrong when you talk about creativity. There are innovators and there are adapters, and both are good. Both come up with good solutions. Adapters come up with lesser ideas, and from those lesser ideas, you expect many of them to succeed. So the efficiency would be very high. Innovators would come up with lots of ideas in the brainstorm, so they could actually be a storehouse of ideas, and you don't even know, they could come up with something so tangential which could be a breakthrough discovery. So that could also happen. So just be aware, so that when you are in a group, working as a group on some project or something, you accept other people as they are. In any team, you need both adapters and innovators. Are you able to see this? So don't consider these as labels. Definitely not. How can a human being be bound in just 8 to 32 point scale and said labeled as adapter or an innovator? That's not the intent. The entire intent is just to give you an experience and awareness that there will be different kinds of people who you will work with, and you should learn that, okay, you have to work with them, adjust with them. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Now, for those of you who could do the assessment on that, you must have received this kind of a scale there.
Yes, sir, in the first place.
Yeah, and there must also be a score there. So you don't need to tell me that score.
Okay.
That's not required to be shared. But what is important is that all of us review these different dimensions again. And you can see what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses and how you would want to work on those weaknesses. In this course, we will have lots of tools which will help you develop these different dimensions. Okay. Now, I will not go for every tool. Okay, this tool helps you develop this dimension. This tool helps you develop this dimension. We will not look at it like that. But if you are aware of what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths, you will know which tools you can use more often so that this particular weakness is taken care of. Okay. So what do you mean by the term abstraction? You must have received a detailed description of this. So what do you mean by abstraction?
Something which is not very structured.
Okay.
So knowing how, knowing what to give an input and what is the output without knowing the inner details of how it's working.
Or hiding away the details.
Able to see things from
Seeing
a
the bigger
broader
picture.
aspect, from a far away point of view.
Yes. The capability to look at things from different depths of understanding. See, we looked at this when we were talking about TRIZ in lecture 2. We talked about how different levels of abstraction exist within the TRIZ framework. One level of abstraction is technical contradiction, where you simply look at the symptomatic behavior of the problem and look at inventive principles which could solve them. Another level is physical contradictions, where you go into more detail, look at the function model, and you see what is happening, and you do something about it. Third, we said is substance field diagram, and we said that is a higher level of abstraction, and there are just 76 ways you could formulate a problem there. So the abstraction means how much in detail or how much in distance can I observe the same problem? How easily or difficult it is for me to change the level of abstraction for the problem that I am trying to solve. Okay. What do you mean by connection?
Having the ability to link two ideas together.
Link ideas which are
How do you connect them?
Seemingly unconnected ideas, if you can connect them. Something that seems absolutely vague.
Yes. So do you remember which question in the assessment could have helped them assess this rating for you?
So
Yes.
there were a bunch of words
So
that
there
were
were, yeah,
So
For
there
some
was
MS
bunch of
type
questions
questions.
there.
So yeah.
Hmm?
there was a question: how would you link
There was
cushion
this,
and table like that?
yeah,
Camera and
there
submarine
was
and so many
something
things.
about a
Camera and submarine.
radio and knife as well.
Yeah.
Radio and knife was a good one.
Yeah, है ना? So how can you connect seemingly disparate ideas and find some relevance there? That is connection. Okay, perspective. What do you mean by perspective?
try to see it from another person or another point of view, basically.
And so
Yeah.
on the flip side as well, I think the ability to make
Yeah.
other person see your side of perspective.
Yeah, the ability to make other person see your side of the story is not as much as the skill over here. When we say perspective in this particular chart, we're looking at how easily are you able to step into someone else's shoes. How easily are you able to think like someone else? Okay, curiosity. This is simple. This is English.
Willingness to know new things.
Yeah, willingness to know. Not assuming something. Questioning. Why this? Boldness.
A risk taker, someone
Risk taker.
brave
Not
enough to
worried
take.
about what others are thinking. Not having this fear of ridicule in oneself. Therefore, able to take bold decisions. Think of bold ideas, tangentially different ideas. Paradox.
To see two things which might not seem to be linked together, but we can see them together.
So we've seen paradoxes. In the TRIS session also we looked at paradoxes. What are the paradoxes we saw there?
The various contradictions, like
Various
the syrup.
contradictions. Yeah, for
Yeah.
example, Nina wanted to pour that syrup. So the syrup has to be hot so that it pours quickly, but it has to be cold so that it does not spoil the
Melt
chocolate.
The chocolate. Yeah.
These are contradictions. And how easily and comfortably do you handle these contradictions? That is what is referred to by this axis. And as you must have already sensed, all these contradiction matrix in a way are a tool to help you improve your paradox score. Complexity.
Ability to work on like difficult problems which are like hard to perceive for someone.
And so I think also like juggle multiple problems at the same time. And
Yes. So if there is a complex situation in front of you, how easy or difficult is it for you to navigate through it? There are a few PhD students over here. For you, handling complexity is extremely important. Handling paradoxes is extremely important. And anyways, for every one of us, it is important. But for PhD students, it is actually the case, because that is where the problem is. The problem is in complexity. The problem is in paradoxes. The problem is in contradictions. And you use all the dimensions, abstraction, perspective, connection, and other things to be able to solve those problems. Okay. So how can you break down a complex, bigger problem into smaller ones, which are easy to handle? How do you handle complexity? And interest, as we've already discussed, we will look at various tools to break down. In fact, we will probably look at one tool today itself. Then, what do you mean by persistence? This is simple, but what does it mean?
Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. Because you may not get good ideas in one. Suppose you sat for first brainstorm with your team. You have a problem at hand. You've sat for the first brainstorm. You spent half an hour. Ideas came. You evaluated those ideas after the brainstorm, and you felt, "Yaar, maza nahi aaya." Then don't drop Go for the next brainstorm. Go for the third brainstorm. Persist until you find something that works for you. You know that Edison, before he got the right light bulb, it is said he experimented with 1,000 materials before he finally arrived at the right material for the filament. So he was persistent. 1,000 failures happened, but even then he was at it. It is one of the very important traits of creative people. Okay. Any questions? Those of you who have not done this, those of you who have not done this assessment yet, I would strongly recommend that you do it. It's not a test actually. You have a test likha hua hai. It's not a test. It's an assessment. It is just to understand where are you. Okay. It is not even, again, don't consider whatever score you get as a label on you. Please do not do that. Do not do this mistake. How can a question, a set of 20 questions tell that you are this or you are that? It cannot do that. These are just pointers. Use them as props. Use them as support systems. Do not bound yourself by whatever this tool tells you. Okay. Yes. Sorry, Soumyadeep, you were saying something.
Okay, yeah, I was saying, could you please explain paradox once more?
Paradox. Okay. So paradox means that, oh, I want this thing to be like this, but I want this thing to be like that also. Has it happened with you? Oh, this works when it is small, but this, I need it to be big. Has it happened?
Currently, I'm not getting any.
Okay. I want, so let us say that you are a computer engineer.
Yes, sir.
Suppose you are writing a code. You want the code to be fast.
Yeah.
But when you write a code which is very, very fast, it may require larger RAM.
Yeah.
Now you want a code to be fast, but using smaller RAM.
Smaller. Yeah. Okay.
So you want fast also, but smaller RAM also.
Something like that bicycle chain that we want strength and flexibility.
Exactly. So these are all paradoxes. And many times it is these paradoxes that prevent us from coming to the most appropriate answer. Na? Therefore, we simply optimize, stopgap arrangements we do. But inventive people or creative people are able to handle paradoxes in an inventive way. They use the inventive principles that we talked about in TRIZ, and they would be able to handle them better. Does that answer your question, Samadi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Great. So now we come to the other test. So the other test again gave you some label. So what was your label out of these 8?
Adventurer.
Adventurer. Yeah, you can just, those who are not comfortable to speak, you can just write down in the chat window also. So adventurer. What else? Who else?
Dreamer. Mine also adventurer.
Dreamer, innovator,
It's a
visionary.
dreamer.
Yeah, different kinds of creative people, different kinds of creativity types. Again, this is not to say one is better than the other. No one is better, no one is worse. They are just different types of creativity that we exhibit. In a different setting, we may exhibit a different kind of behavior also. And in different teams, you would need different kinds of creative people. सारे के सारे maker हो जाएंगे तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगा. If everyone is a dreamer, again, it's a mistake. So that is why it is important to work in teams when you're talking about solving big problems. Now, PhD students do not have that luxury, so we will use tools like TRIZ to break down, to still become an adventurer while I am a dreamer, or still become a visionary while I am a thinker, and so on. So there are tools to help us jump from one way of thinking to another. But at least you know what is your comfort type. Again, don't use it as a label. These are just to bring it to your awareness. These are different researchers who have researched on creativity and created these assessment tools. The intent not being to label you, the intent being to make you more aware of these. that okay, in your team you can have different kinds of people, and that's fine. You should be able to work with all kinds of creative people. Okay. Any
Sir,
questions?
isn't this statement just meant to like give a solace to people? Like because if you if you think deeply, then in somewhere in our heart, everyone wants to like become like a visionary, and like a person who thinks out of the box, who takes risks, be a creative person. So if suppose he gives such an assessment and he gets a label of say a person who is adapter, then maybe this
So
kind of statements is just meant to give a solace to them that no, this does not actually mean anything.
I don't know, Saurabh. I really do not know, because uh, those who got their label as artist, possibly they would rather want to be called as an artist than a visionary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like maybe we want to be something else and we got
No,
something else.
उनको artist ही label करा गया and they are happy being an artist. They don't want to become a visionary. That is what I'm
Maybe
saying.
for some.
You probably want to become a visionary and you realize you are an adventurer. So you may be saying, oh, Anuj is giving us solace that, oh, though you wanted to be a visionary, you are an adventurer. No. I'm not trying to give you any solace. I'm actually telling you there are these 8 kind of people and they're all good. Can you say that, can you compare an apple with a mango and say apple is good or mango is good? Now, you may like a mango more. That's a different thing. But does that reduce the value of an apple?
No, but like when it comes to like being creative or being someone who does a repetitive job, like being in a computer science field, like nowadays we know that repetitive tasks are getting replaced mostly by AI and those setups. So mostly people are saying that now what later people will be doing is more of the creative jobs.
Yeah.
People will be doing. So
creative jobs can be different kinds. For example, when we talk of maker, someone, so amongst us, you know about Peak Labs? They're coming on Shark Tank India next week. You know about that? You know about them?
yeah, I'm not
Yes,
watching
sir.
Shark Tank.
Huh? So they're coming on Shark Tank India next week. They are makers, many of them. Visionary is easy to understand. For many of you, adventurers, people like Samantak who work on, deep math questions, solving problems, thinking. They are thinkers. They don't want to be visionaries.
And also, I think that each of these 8 category people, every single person will be dependent on another type of person to produce the idea which they have thought of, and and they cannot make it. Like a maker cannot think of the, maybe not able to think the idea, but the visionary can think the idea. So a maker and a visionary as a pair would make a like a dream team.
Yeah.
So like I think they are codependent on each other.
एक idea आया, a visionary is so the thinker came up with the idea, or the dreamer came up with the idea, and the visionary is giving it a vision that okay, we can scale it up into a $1 billion business, and both are important.
So are these
We may like an apple more than an orange, or we may like a mango more than an apple. That is our choice. But that doesn't mean that the apple is not important or orange is not important.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not talking exactly about these 8 labels. Like I'm talking about like all these assessments that give us like some sort of assessment that you belong to this category. So there may be people that who might like always there might be some people who are like satisfied with what they are. But as a person, like we want to be more than just one thing, no?
Yeah. So that is why I'm making you aware so that you can consciously flex.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And play different roles when you need to. But be aware that these are the different kinds of creativity types that you can exhibit. If you're not even aware, you will not know when to flex.
Exactly.
And as we discussed even in the beginning of the session, flexibility is one of the key axes of boosting creativity. So these are different dimensions in which you can flex. Ritik?
Yes, sir. My question was, these 8 types, are these an exhaustive list?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
See, you also do some research, huh?
Yeah.
So what do? There is a very complex problem. What do? To manage complexity, you say, okay, I will put them in these bins.
Yeah.
The researchers could have defined 10 more bins. It would have been
Yeah, makes sense.
complexity they were unable to handle. So they
Okay.
defined 8.
Okay.
That is why I'm saying don't get attached to these labels, but just be aware that there are different assessment tools and that there are different kinds of people and that you will need support from different kinds of creative people, that you should value differences, that you should, for creative people, see, creativity, if you realize it or not, I'm not sure, but is like synergy. You bring two people together and they create something very beautiful. That is synergy. 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2. 1 plus 1 could be 11, could be 1001, could be anything. That is what is creativity. And that can happen only when you accept and value other people's differences. That is the only attempt that I'm trying to do by exposing you to these assessments. There are all kinds of people and they're all creative. Each one of us is creative. You just need to know what type you are. You just need to know, on let us say this kind of axis, which is your strength and which is your weakness. And then use tools which can take care of your weaknesses. Any further questions? So again, those of you who have not done these assessments, I would strongly recommend that you do them just to get the hang of it. Okay. And again, let me reinforce that we express creative with our own style. And also that creativity is a talent that can be taught. If I'm not very good on handling paradoxes, I can learn how to use the contradiction matrix and fill that gap. Another thing, all of us are naturally creative, but it may not come easily to all of us. Many times we need discomfort to think creatively. Many times we need risk and pressure. Oh, I have this activity has to be finished within 2 days. You remember that Nina story of when she went to work? What was the problem there? That all those nuts and bolts had to be polished within 24 hours. And it was difficult for them. So that was the pressure. Oh, there's a pressure of time. It has to be completed within this time. And that was where the creative idea came. So all of us are creative. At times, we have not just triggered ourselves in the right way. And the tools that we will learn in this course, we already saw trigger session, we already saw 65 session. We will look at many more tools and we will look at many structured tools also to go step by step. So we will, the tools that we are looking in this course will actually help us become more creative, become more inventive. So this is another interesting thing. When asked about where do companies get ideas for their new products or innovations from, what this was a survey, the response to the survey. The R&D team, which is actually supposed to come up with all these ideas, generated only 9% of those ideas. Okay, let me add specialists also there. R&D plus specialists, only 20% of ideas came from that group. Majority of the ideas came from customer support or market intelligence. Let us add competitors also to this. So 50% of ideas actually come from what others are doing or what my customers are asking about in terms of need. Then the remaining employees who are not experts or specialists yet or who are not in the R&D team, they come up with a whooping 30% of ideas, which again is much more than what R&D team or expert groups could come up with. And these are not just ideas, these are innovations. So these are ideas that worked. Ideas that worked. So 50% of it was from competitors, customers, suppliers, or market intelligence. 30% from regular employees, and 20% from specialists, experts, or R&D. So whether you are able to join an R&D team right away after your graduation or not, doesn't matter. You still can be a major source of idea generation for the company. Or you anyways can be that, wherever you are. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we will look at one important, what do you say, term, which we call as value. What do you mean by value? What do you mean by value? Okay, let me give you a hint. What do you mean by value?
So maybe ROI.
Yeah. So it is something like how many functions or how many functions is something performing and what is the cost of that. So something is performing a lot of functions, but at a very low cost. You say ROI is very high. You say value is very high.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So for any, so when we say that a lot of ideas were coming from customers or competition or market intelligence, why was that the case? Because they were looking at value. Customer needs a function and I have to somehow provide it in minimum cost. And therefore there could be ideas or product features that you may want to add, which could come across in this entire zone. So where do you really want to be? Which quadrant of these do you want to be in?
The first one.
Upper left.
Top left, upper left.
Top left quadrant. So that you offer many functions, but at low cost. So these are very, very high value ideas. And where do you simply want to avoid?
Bottom right.
Bottom right. Because they are costly things, but they do not offer much functionality. So let us understand this concept first. This is very important because whatever product or process or system that you would want to work with or innovate on, there will be many components in those things. And you can simply list down those components and identify the value that these components bring. And then you can say, oh, this particular set of components or this particular set of functions are not worth it. Or, for example, if there is something which is over here, you would say, see, this set of functions that this particular component is providing, can I assign this function to one of these low cost materials, low cost components? This particular, can I assign it to somewhere here? Or if not there, even here, because this component is performing lots of value. What do you do for these components which are up here in the top right corner? What do you do for this component, for example? What would you want to do?
Them to the left.
Try to reduce their cost.
Yes, you would want to see how to reduce the cost so that it somehow comes there. You may want to change the material, you may want to change the size, but still get the same functionality. Again, some of the functionality you may give to some other stuff. And then we will look at this technical contradiction matrix. You may realize that, oh, this component is so costly because I asked for a particular quality. Now let me use some inventive principles and say, okay, I can use a lower quality component and this component cost comes here. But I may need to add another component which could be like this, somewhere here. The overall cost of the system may reduce. Okay. Or I may say that, okay, this component does the remaining part of the quality. So some existing component, I add more function to it. Overall, I have reduced the overall cost of the system. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it is important to understand what is the value that different components will bring in. When we will do trimming, this concept will become very handy. But even before that, even when you do not know trimming, realize that this concept is there, and then we will do many ideation methods, techniques we will use. Probably in the next class, we will use something called as feature transfer, where we will try to assign functions of one thing to another component that already exists and see what happens. Okay. So when we talk of value, let me also bring to you another concept which is called as, so okay, this is our target quadrant. Functionality can be improved, so things from here can be brought up there by possibly taking functions of that place and doing that. And these parts have to be trimmed, they have to be removed. Again, their functions need to be assigned to something else. Okay. Now let us come to what is called as main parameters of value. What do we mean by main parameters of value? See, main parameter of value is a key attribute or an outcome that a product or service which is important for the purchase decisions that a customer will make. And key innovations, something that really sells in the market, are actually improvements along the main parameter of value. So abhi we looked at different things which would be like value. Let us take an example. Let's take the example of an airline. When you say that you want to choose an airline, you want to go from Delhi to Bombay, let us say, which airline would you choose? Now there are various parameters of value that come into picture. Well, for example, one is how on time the flight is. Another could be how good or bad is my experience when I go in their lounge, let us say. Another could be how easy or convenient is the check-in, check-out, purchasing the ticket, and all that process. Another could be, okay, for airlines, when I earn miles over here, which other places can I use those miles? Another could be how comfortable my seats are. Another could be, do I have in-flight entertainment? Another could be, is food served? Or if food is served, is the food tasty? Do you see all these are parameters of value? Another one could be, how good are the air hostesses there? So for which of these parameters of value that we just saw, are you ready to pay, or will you choose the airlines? Will you do it just for the air hostesses?
No, sir.
No.
No.
Someone would do, but will the majority do? No. So can air hostesses be the main parameter of value for an airline?
No.
No.
For Vijay Mallya only. No, sir.
No. Most of the people would probably look at punctuality and pricing. Am I right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
there are airlines, for example, there was Kingfisher, which said, I am focusing on food and air hostess, because there were customers who would look at those. So depending on your target market segment, your main parameter of value may be different. Are you able to see this? If it's a
Yes,
long
sir.
distance flight, if I'm talking about flying from India to say the US, it's a long distance flight, there are bound to be meals inside. I would want a tasty meal, and I would want good leg space, is it not? But if it's a short distance flight, let us say from Delhi to Jaipur, I'm not worried about neither food nor leg space. I want cost, probably, and on time reach. Are you able to see for over here?
Yes, sir.
The same customer for different flights could have different main parameter of value. You yourself could have it differently. There's no one fixed. And therefore, when we talk of entrepreneurship, when we talk of business strategy, when we talk of how to identify a market segment, or more importantly, how to identify what to improve. See, a course on innovation is about improvement, either radical improvement or gradual improvement, but improvement, so that user experience improves, your market share improves, all those things happen. So what to improve, you will know when you assess what is the main parameter of value for your target customers. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Any questions? Okay, so there could be high level needs that people may define: performance, controllability, convenience, health, safety, cost, brand, manufacturability, sustainability, and so on. These high level needs from the customer have to be brought down into different what it means for your customers in different stages of your product life cycle. For example, let us just look at convenience. So long back, the meaning of convenience simply was operator availability. You would pick up the phone, will the operator pick up from the other side? That would help you decide which company's telephone to pick up. Today, the meaning of convenience means how good is your broadband network coverage. That is what will help you decide whether you want to go with Airtel or Jio or something like that. Is it not? Do you realize how the same parameter has evolved over time?
Yes.
The same will happen with your customers also. As you and your competition starts to provide one level of convenience, your customers would demand the next level. And that is where the innovation should happen. You as an entrepreneur, you as a designer, you as a person who is spearheading change or market penetration, have to look at what is the next level in convenience that your customers may need. And you have to choose to innovate on the axis of convenience. You can also innovate on the axis of cost. But if cost is not the main parameter of value, would you want to go with a vendor who provides bad or patchy network coverage, but is just cheaper? Would you want to go with such a vendor when you're talking about cell phones?
No.
No. The main parameter of value is that. So cost is not. Now, cost is a parameter of value, but only when you're talking between two equals. Two different providers, similar network coverage. Now you look at cost. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
So as inventors, as innovators, we should be very clear about what is the main parameter of value. And it is on that we would need to innovate. So do you realize you're already entering into the problem identification stage as to how to identify the right problem there? Are you able to see this? How to identify the right problem that needs to be solved? That is what this main parameter of value is talking to us about. Any questions?
Sir, it would also depend on basically, it would also depend on experience. So, like, by the fall of Nokia, we could say Nokia still it provided the convenience and all, but still, people went with other brands because of Android. So then Nokia was carrying with Symbian. So I think so. They also have thought that yes, we would provide the customer satisfaction, but at the end they just lost it because it wasn't that better than Android. So would it is it not basically the customer satisfaction also at the end? What he's
Yeah,
getting?
see, बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती है ना. For example, what we're talking about is the user interface.
Yes.
That was the parameter of value at that time. We were moving from those just one keypads which had just 1 to 0 and star and hash 12 keys to something which was a full screen phone. That was what Apple brought on the table.
Yes.
Nokia had big screens, but not a single full screen phone. In fact, if you look at Nokia, there are numerous case studies about this thing, Nokia and Apple. Nokia had their R&D team, internal R&D team, had actually designed a phone which had a full screen and no keypad. Nokia experts rejected that phone.
Yes.
But Apple clicked. And once Apple clicked, Samsung followed suit, so many others followed suit, and Nokia still felt, no, ye to idea we have rejected already. This is a fad. 5% market share only they can get. 95% want a keyboard.
Yes.
So you can go wrong. You can go wrong, and that is a business leader's initiative to be aware what axis are we intending to innovate on. So see, in any organization, there would be people who would want to innovate on all these axes. As a leader, you will have to choose which axis to focus more on.
Yes.
So, important needs which are still unsatisfied, they should be the focus of your innovation efforts. For you, they are the main parameter of value. Then, important needs which are satisfied, you still need to maintain them. Okay? These are, so important needs are, now this is a different axis, which are clearly known and expressed needs. And when they are not satisfied, you focus on them and you innovate around them. You call them as main parameters of value. Clearly expressed needs which are satisfied, they are simply parameters of value. You still want to improve on them because they are expressed needs. Now, there could also be unknown or unexpressed needs, which are latent MPVs. For example, Apple's felt, or Steve Jobs felt, people don't want these buttons. They would rather want to have a different experience altogether, a full screen, colorful screen, and no buttons, no physical buttons. The screen has the buttons on it. It was an unknown or an unexpressed need. Apple identified it. And they worked on this latent MPV and they completely changed the market. They might see long back when cell phones first came into picture, there was no screen technology. There was no capacitive or resistive screens which could be used. There were no touch screens at that point of time. So the technology did not exist. Nokia accepted that as a limitation and said, because technology doesn't exist, people don't need it. Whereas people would have loved it. It was not there just because technology did not exist. So they overlooked it. So as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you have to be alert to what is happening at different places. Again, as I said, parameters of value, they're well understood and assumed to be satisfied, but you cannot lose sight of them. they are kind of expected to be already met. Cost, for example, cost for cell phone calls, it is an accepted parameter of value. That is why we have such proliferation of cell phones across the country. If someone says, oh, I will work on another main parameter of value, but I will increase the cost like this much, you should realize you're not working on a commodity product. You're not working on a large customer base. Then that need, someone who is violating this parameter of value thing will not be able to still sell the products. So this has to be met. Okay. And then basic parameters of value. These are some things which are easily understood. See, today you will not purchase a phone which does not support 4G. 4G is a tacit PV today. 5G could be MPV. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
So whatever ideas, you may come. So in the brainstorm session, you enter into a brainstorm session. You say, I want to, add a new feature to my product. You do a trigger session or a 65 session. You come up with 20 ideas. This method of MPV helps you zero in on ideas which would work for the customer. Are you able to see this? Now, once you've identified which MPV to work on, this is the problem identification stage. Once you've identified, then we will use other tools. But MPV analysis is a very important tool to identify the problem in the first place. The problem that is worth working on. Any questions? Clear?
Yes.
Great. So be aware that main parameters of value will dominate product decisions. Okay, because they are known needs, they are expressed needs, and they are known to be not satisfied. Okay, latent MPVs, when you work on them, they could be risky because we do not know, it has not been actually expressed. You will need to probably do some surveys to get those things. Okay, so as we just discussed, satisfying parameters of value is expected by the market. This, as we discussed, can lead to breakthrough innovation. Apple did exactly that. And if you overlook basic parameters of value, your acceptance of your product will actually not be there. If you just say, okay, I will not even provide 4G coverage or 4G connectivity on my phone, your smartphone may not sell. It will not even be accepted in the market. Okay, so put your ideas, put your stuff into this MPV chart, and you will be able to identify where to focus your energies on. We will close the class here. Any questions?
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, I think 4G is expressed, clearly expressed one, and you were telling that it is unexpressed one. So why is it that?
Yeah. Sorry. Actually, 4G to clearly expressed ho gaya. What do we say? That your touch screen should not break down after 1 year or 2 years. Let us say this. No one talks about the quality of touch screen. Gorilla Glass and everything people used to talk about 3-4 years back. Today, no one talks about that. Gorilla Glass is expected. Or that you should be able to place calls. No one even talks about it. It is expected. It is unknown. मतलब उसको तो unknown. It is something like इसको तो कहने की भी need नहीं है. You may call it as known and expressed. You're right. Let me think more about what would be tacit MPV. stereo speakers in a phone, maybe.
It's a synonym kind of thing.
Sorry?
So maybe we can say they are synonym.
Synonyms. हाँ, could be. That phone है तो call तो करना ही.
Sir, we may call it as implicit features.
Implicit features, yeah.
Sir, can we
I'm
say
looking
that?
for examples actually here.
Sir, can
Just
we
to-
say if we put a 5G in tacit PV and it will limit acceptances? Suppose in next month 5G technology comes in India, and if your phone does not support 5G, it will flop.
No. See, 5G is a known, because 5G technology has been already publicized. Someone talks about 7G. That would be unknown and unexpressed and obviously unsatisfied. That would be latent MPV. क्योंकि अभी तो 6G define हो रहा है. You see, so 5G is not around tacit PV. In fact, 5G is a MPV because not all phones have 5G feature in it yet.
Yes.
है ना? So think any other example you could think of for tacit PV. I realize my example was not really accurate.
Sir, when it comes to courses, complete courses, syllabus coverage for edtech startups. Syllabus coverage, that is implicit, no?
That is implicit. And but पता है ऋषभ, उसके अंदर भी at least in IIIT we clearly define what is the course content.
Sir, if it is satisfied, then how can it be unknown?
Because it was implicit, no? It just happened that it was satisfied. उसके बिना होता ही नहीं.
Maybe we can say it is something that that is usually overlooked.
Yeah, it is overlooked. It is unknown नहीं कहेंगे. See, it is the axis is about unknown and unexpressed. So people don't even talk about it today. It is
Sir,
unexpressed. You don't put it in the data sheet today. Let us say.
A bug-free user experience. So nobody will talk about that, but it is implicit that we need that.
Yeah, no, actually, Apple does talk about that. Apple says our system do not crash. No?
Sir, few years back, maybe this example would have made sense. Let's say the availability of an headphone jack.
Yeah.
But now they are omitting it, so now it does not make that sense.
So I would say it is something which is so evident and so important that you don't even write it in your data sheet. You do not even write it in your product manual because वो तो होना ही है. Something like that.
Yes, sir. Just we were thinking about charger, and then Apple started not giving chargers.
ठीक है. चलिए. Anything else? Okay. So we'll meet on Monday at 1:30 p.m. for our next class then. Okay. And those of you who have not done the assessment yet, please do so.